I had every intention of coming back to YouTube for a long while now, and never did I expect to be talking about this as my first video coming back to it. So just to kind of give a explanation on who I am and whatnot, my name is Coffin. That's what I go by on social media and whatnot, or that's my gamer tag, I guess you could say. Real name is Josh, and I like, if it ain't obvious, I like collecting video games. I've been collecting video games ever since I discovered YouTube channels such as Pete Dorr and Happy Console Gamer and Alpha Omega Sin. Those are the main ones that come to mind. Adam Koralik, as a matter of fact, I was just watching a little bit of his video on this on the subject matter, um, and I love this stuff. I think collecting this stuff is super fascinating, and for a variety of reasons, whether it's because I just prefer actually holding something, having something I can actually hold, or the preservation aspect of it, or the fact that when it comes to there's just a lot of detractors when it comes to, I shouldn't say a lot of detractors, but a lot of stuff with digital games that kind of turns me off. So, and I say this as someone who also uh, has a Steam account, who also buys games on Steam and whatnot. At least with Steam, it's a little more consumer friendly, but whereas on PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, um, not entirely the case. So for those who haven't heard the news, I'm sure most of you have at this point. If you're watching this video, chances are you also like physical games. You're just also into gaming in general. But if you haven't heard the news, for the 2% of people that haven't, um, Sony announced that they will be discontinuing the production of physical discs for video games for this foreseeable future from starting 2000 or starting next year in 2028. Um, the article reads, as consumer preferences and the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinuing starting January 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. This transition has no impact on games that already released or will be releasing prior to January 2028 in disc format. This is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumer trends as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs. This transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. We'll continue to prioritize our resources to drive innovation in how players can access games and provide choices as to where players prefer to purchase new games, whether that's at retailers or PlayStation Store. We remain committed to delivering a world-class gaming experience to our fans, and we thank you for your continued support. Now, mind you, this is also announced on July 1st, so I know I'm kind of late to this, but um, the same day, they announced that they were shutting down the PS3 and PS Vita stores on or next year in the US. I think it's going to be earlier in other regions. What a combo of news, especially to get woken up to. Um, Let me tell you, waking up, checking my phone, and getting notifications for videos talking about how Sony is no longer going to be printing physical game discs was not how I wanted to start my morning. Um, like I said, I like physical games, and to see that this stuff will basically be a thing of the past, and all the games will be digital, is very concerning, and really spells disaster for uh, game collecting, and buying video games and whatnot. And let me tell you, for the people who prefer digital and whatnot, um, I don't think you're gonna entirely like the direction that things will go. So now I know there are people who prefer digital and whatnot and fully acknowledge the benefits of owning physical games. And you know what? To those people, all the power to you. For me, there's a lot more negatives with digital games than there are with physical. Um, so, like, yes, physical can take up a lot of space, and there are instances where some games just are not fully on the disc, and then there's also patches and stuff like that. And I've seen the arguments. However, there's a lot more positives with, or yeah, a lot more advantages than there are disadvantages with compared to digital games. Digital games, honestly, I see this being a net negative for gaming as a hobby, just or even just the casual market, honestly. Um, because with physical game or with digital games, here's the thing that people always forget, that people don't, or that a lot of people don't seem to understand. When it comes to a digital license, when it comes to a digital game, you don't actually own the game. Yes, there are instances like GOG, where you buy a game digitally and you can install it to your hard drive. You don't have to be tied to a DRM or anything. There's none of that shit going on GOG, and that is a storefront I praise, or I absolutely, uh, I applaud that storefront for that. Um, but and like I said, at least with Steam, they are a lot more consumer friendly. Um, like hell, um, this goes into the license, what digital games are. You're not actually purchasing a game. You don't actually own the thing that you're buying when you buy a digital game. When you purchase a digital game, you actually are just purchasing a license, and they can just take that away from you at any fucking time. And as a matter of fact, before this news broke out, a couple days prior to this, or to this announcement, Sony also announced that they lost the license for like 550 movies, and all those movies were taken away from people's digital libraries, or customers' digital libraries, and people were losing access to those. You could no longer watch those, and people did not get refunds from it. That's the problem with digital games. You can just have your the license that you purchased with your hard-earned money just taken away from you. Um, they can't do that with a physical game. They can't just go out, and they can't just come to your house and take you of your copy of Resident Evil 4. Like, they can't come to my house and take my copy of Resident Evil 4. So with this, what I can do is, like, I can purchase it, or I purchased it, and what I can do with this is I can play it, I can sell it, I can lend it to a friend, I can do whatever with it. Um, so I, I can play it, sell it, trade it in, lend it to a friend, snort cocaine off of it if I wanted to. Just I can do whatever the hell I want with it. Um, with a digital game, you can't lend it out. You can't return it if you don't like the game. Sony has a policy where if you download the game and you don't like it, you can't return it. Just saying, even just downloading it voids the option of getting a refund, which is complete not the same on Steam. On Steam, when you buy a game, um, you can play it, and if you don't like it, as long as you didn't play it for more than 2 hours, you can return it, or you can get a full refund for it. You can't do that on PSN. So, and also, just so you know, Xbox and Nintendo are the same way. You buy a digital game, and you can't refund it. From my understanding, there's no refund policy through them. Um, but yeah, you can't do that with a digital game. Another thing is that, like, with physical games, typically, believe it or not, physical games, you can get a hell of a lot better deals for games when you buy them physically compared to digitally. A lot of times they don't run sales for digital. They don't. There are some games they just don't run sales for all too often. Um, or they don't run sales as much, nearly not. Steam is a different story. They do run sales on there all the time, but on PSN, Xbox, and Switch, they don't run sales nearly as much. And considering that now a lot of games are 70, or in this case $80 when it comes to the new Grand Theft Auto, which is a whole thing into itself. It's like there's no price difference. You buy like um, a physical game, a brand new physical game will cost just as much on PSN. Um, so, which again leads into Grand Theft Auto 6 being an $80 game, and they're not even shipping it on a physical disc. It's just a code in a box, which I don't like that idea. At that point, why bother printing it on? Why bother doing a physical case for it? Why bother printing box art for it? What's the fucking point? Um, and at that point, it's just to control the market. It's just to go against used game sales and whatnot. And like here, when it comes to used game sales, the other day, I just picked this up, the medium for PS5. Um, this is $50 on PSN. I paid $20 for this. So, just saying. And that's just one example. I could probably look through my game collection and find more instances where I ended up just buying the physical game for much cheaper than how much it is on PSN. Um, so, like, yeah, you can't, you honestly can't really beat a good sale of a physical game compared to digital. And granted, don't get me wrong, they run sales on PSN and whatnot. Um, but it's honestly not as often for the games I'm most interested in. But like I said, it's mainly just not having that physical thing and whatnot, not having that physical disc. Um, so, and then yeah, and also like I've said before, the when it comes to the physical games, in some instances they don't have the full game on the disc. So it's like, why bother buying the physical disc when you can have where you just buy the game digitally? Well, my argument with that is it's still worth something right now, even though the full game's not even on the disc, or in the case of the Switch 2, there's the game key cards and whatnot, which that's the reason why I don't own a Switch 2. Um, a lot of the games I would have been interested in, I'm buying on Switch 2 are game key cards, and I don't like the idea of that. But the even though it's the full game's not on the disc or the cart, it is still worth something now. Like Oblivion Remastered here. The full game is not on here. There's not even a gigabyte on here, as far as if I remember correctly. I'll also talk about this because I do intend on doing a game collection update. I will be talking about this in that video. But the thing with Oblivion Remastered is, even though there's damn near nothing on the disc, this is still worth something right now. I can still trade it in, sell it. I can give it to a friend, and do whatever with it. And also, even though the full game is not on here, if someone were to find this used for like $20 or something like that, it's still a better deal compared to PSN. So, and that also goes for online games or online only games like Helldivers 2, which, yeah, this is an online only game. This disc does not fucking work offline. However, even though it's an online only game, the physical copy, if you can find this for $20, you are getting a better deal buying it physically compared to if you were to buy this digitally. So, great game, by the way. I highly recommend it. But yeah, and just that's it's it frustrates me because Sony has always been like a big proponent of physical games and buying physical games. As a matter of fact, people keep bringing up the fact that Sony had that one short video at E3 2013 that kind of roasted Xbox. Um, saying, "Hey, this is how you share your games on PS4," and it's what's his name, Shuhei Yoshida, um, handing someone a, I can't remember the other guy's name, but it's Shuhei Yoshida handing some other guy a physical copy of a game. That was it, and it feels like they've strayed so far from that. This doesn't even feel like the same fucking company, honestly. So and I mean, there's more to it than that. A lot of people don't like the lack of exclusives and whatnot, and I'm also kind of in that same boat. The last like amazing exclusive I can think of that they've put out is Astrobot, and that came out 2 years ago. I honestly wish Sony wouldn't focus so much on releasing cinematic experiences, which are not bad by any means, but I wish they would release stuff outside of these AAA blockbuster games. So there's more to it than that. And Sony's just in general, Sony's just made so many dumb fuck decisions. Um, but honestly, and honestly, Xbox is making a bunch of dumb decisions too, like shutting down studios, and apparently they are behind closed doors. They might be it sounds like they're working on trying to bring back the initial policies they were trying to put onto physical games when the Xbox One was coming out, when they first announced that console. Um, so, which I mean, this kind of leads into the fact that the PlayStation 6 will be. This kind of leads into the fact that the PlayStation 6 will be a digital only console. And if that's the case, then I'm not buying it. And as a matter of fact, to go even further, I won't be buying any more digital games on PSN. So I'll probably still buy digital games on PS3 and Vita, um, because of the fact they're shutting down the store. And in my case, I like to go by official means before I even resort to emulation. So, and there's a lot of PS1 games on there that I'm actually interested in playing. Um, so but this is just a shit show, and like I'm glad that a lot of people are not for this at all. So I've noticed a lot of people canceling their PS Plus subscriptions, saying they're not buying the next PlayStation, saying they're going over to Steam, which again I've said this before like 2 or 3 times in this video. Steam is far more consumer friendly than on PlayStation. Because also, one other thing I failed to mention is on PlayStation, you're locked to that, and this also goes for Xbox and Switch. You're locked to the digital storefronts on those consoles. So um, you can't buy a digital game from another storefront and have it carried over to and just download it on PS5. You can't. Um, yeah, that's. I felt like I had more to say to that, but yeah, you're basically locked to those storefronts. So, whereas again with a physical copy, it offers choice. There's plenty of places that sell physical games, whether it's mom and pop shops um, uh, or of course GameStops, or even just other big retailers like Target, Walmart, Amazon, what have you. You have a lot of choices there, and you're able to just kind of pinpoint, able to just wait it out for a sale, um, wait for a good price drop, and wait for clearance, what have you. Um, and I mean, hell, recently, I know it wasn't a well received game, but recently I saw a Lost Soul Side for like $10 on Amazon. So, just saying, it's. Let me tell you, gaming is just in a weird spot right now. We like with was it Summer Games Fest rolling by, and then following that being the Xbox showcase, and then the Switch 2 or the Switch or Nintendo Direct. There's a ton of amazing game announcements, from like the Resident Evil Veronica or Resident Evil Code Veronica remake to um, seeing more Persona 4 Revival, and getting a teaser for Persona 6, and then finally getting an announcement of native ports for the Kingdom Hearts games, then finally getting a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4. Um, after all those amazing announcements, Microsoft and it's implied that Microsoft is going to be shutting down more studios, and Sony announces some dumb fuck policy changes, or not so much policy changes, just announces they're not doing physical game discs anymore. Like, I don't know. So, having said that, unless the backlash gets to Sony and they're all like, okay, we're going to continue doing physical game discs, um, unless the backlash gets them to change, which backlash does work, bullying companies works, um, or tanking their stock, whichever you prefer. Tanking their stock does the most damage. Just saying. Um, unless Sony changes course and decides to keep printing physical game discs, um, yeah, I won't be buying the next PlayStation. And I will just be buying physical games, as I'll just continue to buy physical games, and won't be buying any digital titles anymore. So, which has me super conflicted because they are re-releasing Black Ops 1 and 2, which are my two favorite Call of Duties. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm frustrated, and I'm probably just gonna upload this as is. Not gonna do any fancy editing or anything. I don't really do fancy editing to begin with, but not gonna be doing any editing to this. I'm just gonna post this as is. Um, and at this point, I'm just rambling on, probably repeating my words and shit like that. So, having said that, that's all I really got to say. How do y'all feel about this? Um, and honestly, I also hate that this just now came to mind. I've also noticed a lot of people, a lot of digital only people saying, "This doesn't affect me." Well, yeah, it doesn't affect you, but this affects many others, and the fact that that's your that mentality has gotten us to games being released at $80. I'm just saying. So, um, and then also has gotten us to points of uh, digital games being delisted, and this also reminds me of a quote from a certain someone that runs the storefront that I mentioned like 3 or 4 times in this video, the biggest one on PC, saying that the reason why, I can't remember the exact quote, but the piracy isn't, or, piracy comes from bad services. If you offer a bad service, then people are more likely to pirate your stuff. So, and unfortunately, because of this, news, unfortunately, piracy may be the best way for preservation. Because that was like one of the best things about physical this stuff gets preserved. So, um, yeah. So, anyways, I'm rambling on here. I'm gonna get out of here. Tell me what you guys feel, how you guys feel about this, and yeah, I got nothing else to say. Have a good one.